Well, we got to deal with debt.
We've been indoctrinated to say, don't wait. It's better to pay $400 a month in interest that and when you work that out to $4,800 a year, that people could be spending on other things, is going into the pockets of people that invest in banks and the banks, right?
Crooked people.
But it's an indoctrination. It's the finance industry, and now they're doing it on a country levels like Greece.
They're predators, David. Yeah. They're predators.
Well, I have a friend that said banks were started by pirates in the 16th century, and they're still run by them.
Exactly. They're pirates. Banks create money out of thin air.
Yeah, but what do they need to create it for? They've got all this money coming from us all the time.
They don't have money coming from us. No.
So it's not money that I spent. So it doesn't exist then. So I don't have to pay it back.
The bank loaned you that money. They created it out of thin air. Banks don't have to have any deposits in order to loan you money.
So originally, we had a banking act that required that they couldn't lend more than a certain percentage of their deposits.
Exactly. Not too many years ago, I guess back in Pierre Trudeau's day, we started to reduce the reserves.
What's the reserve?
Reserve is how much money the bank has to have on hand. 6% of what they loaned.
Yeah, okay.
Now that's gone. No more 6%. Anything they can borrow. So anyway, what they do is they loan you money. You sign a contract. And they deposit that into a bank account. That there was nothing in a bank account before.
Yeah.
So now there's that money in a bank account. It wasn't there before.
Yeah. I know, it was like zero. Nothing
Zero.
There. Yeah.
So now they have that money in the account. And
but in order to put it into that account, they had to have somewhere where they could take it.
No, they did not. They created it. The minute you signed that contract, there was nothing. There was a hole before you signed the contract.
Okay, so I took that. So then what happens? The Bank of Canada just gives them that amount of money?
No, the Bank of Canada doesn't give them any amount of money. The bank has created it. They have full control over it. They collect the interest from it.
So I've got an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we create the People's Bank, do it all ourselves, and then we can be interest-free?
We have one.
What is it?
The Bank of Canada.
I've never borrowed from it before.
No.
What does the Bank of Canada do?
The Bank of Canada creates money. Instead of the banks being able to create that money, if we said you have to have the money on deposit before you can loan it out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Then they would go to the Bank of Canada and they would say, we need $100 million because we can loan $100 million. And the Bank of Canada would say, now, is this going to improve our economy, or is it not? Is this going to cause inflation, or is it not? And so the Bank of Canada would say, is this healthy for us? What are you going to use it for? So the Bank of Nova Scotia would say, well, we have $100 million worth of applications for credit cards.
Yeah, okay.
And if the Bank of Canada was saying, no, that's inflationary, that's increasing consumption and decreasing wealth for people to spend this money. So you can't have it.
So consumption causes inflation.
Creation of money causes inflation, not consumption.
Oh, okay.
If the money's there.
So before the bank started creating this money, you're saying that the Bank of Canada used to do all of that?
Yes, the Bank of Canada used to finance the government of Canada. So what happened in World War II? All of a sudden, we had to start producing goods and services. So the Bank of Canada started to print money. And they started to put people to work. And they started to make ships and tanks and send them out to sea and sink them to the bottom. but still we had magnificent prosperity. People were working and making money, and they didn't have a lot to spend on. There was nothing, everything was rationed. You couldn't spend the stuff. So all we had to do was loan it back to the government again.
But that was Canada's savings bonds.
Yes, Canada's savings bonds, and everybody was doing fine, and they were collecting this wealth, and then after the World War II, instead of sinking the tanks to the bottom of the ocean,
Yeah.
we took that money and we built the St. Lawrence Seaway, and we built the Trans-Canada Highway.
Well, aren't those good things?
Good things, of course, and people were working. They were still working because they weren't building tanks to go to the bottom of the ocean. They were building roads to drive on.
But what's happened now is the government's changed it all, and now they're sinking our economy to the bottom of the
They're
ocean.
sinking the economy. They're consuming it. They're giving it out to credit cards, and people are going to Cuba and spending our money. We're consuming it. They're
Okay.
drinking it.
This is more interesting because I'm understanding some of this now. So,
We ended up, after World War II,
yeah.
we ended up after Korean War, after we built the Trans-Canada Highway, after we built the St. Lawrence Seaway, and we only had $100 billion in government debt. And probably not much.
100 billion?
Yeah,
100 million, maybe.
100 billion.
100 billion in debt? That's
Yeah.
a lot of money, isn't it?
Well, it's not a lot of money when you look at, we've now got $1,700 billion in debt.
1,700. So that's 17 times
1.7
more.
Yes, $1.7 trillion in debt.
Oh, trillion.
Yes, 1,700 billion.
Oh, yeah, 1,700 billion. That's like 1,700 times.
17 times. We had 100 billion. We've now
100
got
billion,
1,700
okay.
billion.
Math was my strong point in school. Yeah.
And we haven't sunk. Well, we have a few tanks in the ocean and got them blown up over in the desert and all that
Yeah, that's right.
kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But mostly, that 1,700 billion has gone into healthcare and stuff we've spent and consumed yesterday. We don't have anything left to show for it.
So is healthcare a bad thing?
No,
No?
no. But you don't borrow the money to pay for it.
So it's balanced. We should have raised taxes and things.
We should have raised the taxes.
Yeah.
In 1940 to 60,
Yeah.
the top tax rate, those in that 136,000 a year basis, were paying 70 to 85% tax rate.
Oh.
They're down to 45% now. When was the last time that high tax rate people were paying 45%? In the 1920s.
Okay.
What happened after the 1920s?
The Great Recession.
The Great Big Recession. That was the last time, just before that recession, when the tax rate on those rich people was 45%. We've cranked it down now to 45% again. Are you really on your knees begging for another Great Depression?
That is really absolutely insane.
It is completely insane. And it's not that $1.7 trillion that the government owes to the private banks.
Yeah.
It's the $1.7 billion that all of the private people owe to the private banks. It used to be that the rich guy in town, he had consideration for other people. As employees, he considered them and so on. Then they all became numbers.
So the solution?
Get those 50% of the people who don't vote. So vote the bastards out.